Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm breaking down one of the most shocking geopolitical events in decades, the US military's capture of Venezuelan dictator Nicolás Maduro on January 3, 2026, and the rapid transition to interim President Delcy Rodríguez. This isn't just some distant foreign policy drama, it's going to hit American pockets directly through oil prices, gas at the pump, inflation, energy stocks, migration flows, and even national security. As your go-to for straightforward economic news focused on US impacts, let's unpack the facts, the timeline, the players, and most importantly, the money side of this story. Let's start with exactly what went down. In the early hours of January 3, US Special Forces launched Operation Absolute Resolve, a precision raid on Caracas. Explosions rocked the capital as American troops extracted Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores, from their residence. No US lives were lost, though 7 service members were injured, and reports mention casualties among Cuban advisors protecting the regime. By Saturday morning, Maduro was in federal custody in New York, pleading not guilty to long-standing charges of narco-terrorism, corruption, and drug trafficking. President Trump hailed it as a brilliant success, framing it as justice against a regime tied to cartels and hostile foreign powers like Iran and Cuba. In the immediate aftermath, Venezuela's National Assembly swore in Vice President Delcy Rodríguez as interim president on January 5. Rodríguez, a 56-year-old longtime Chavista loyalist and former labor lawyer, has been Maduro's right hand for years, serving as vice president, oil minister, and economic czar. She's tough, often called Maduro's tigress for her fiery defenses of the regime. But here's where it gets interesting for economics. US officials see her as more pragmatic than Maduro. She's the one who pushed partial dollarization, loosened price controls, and negotiated limited sanction relief in recent years, helping drop hyperinflation from millions of percent to around 130 to 150% by late 2025. Trump has been crystal clear, the US is effectively in charge during this transition. He's demanded oversight, anti-corruption measures, and direct benefits for America. Just yesterday, on January 6, he announced Venezuela will hand over 30 to 50 million barrels of oil, worth $2.50 to $4 billion at current prices, as reimbursement for the operation and to flood the market with supply. US oil companies like Chevron and Exxon are poised for expanded access, and sanctions are expected to lift gradually if Rodríguez cooperates. Now, why does this matter so much to the US economy? Venezuela holds the planet's largest proven oil reserves, over 300 billion barrels. Yet, under Maduro's socialist policies, corruption, and sanctions, production crashed from 2.5 million barrels per day in the early 2010s to barely over 1 million last year. Refineries fell apart, talent fled, and the country that once fueled American imports became a basket case. The result? GDP plunged more than 75% since 2013, hyperinflation wiped out savings, and over 8 million Venezuelans escaped, many crossing into the US, adding billions in costs to border security, healthcare, and social services in states like Texas, Florida, and Arizona. If this transition holds and production ramps up, and analysts say it could hit 2 to 3 million barrels per day within 18 to 24 months, that's a massive new supply hitting global markets. Oil prices, hovering around $80 to $85 lately, could drop $10 to $20 per barrel in the coming year. Translate that to the pump, Americans might see gas prices fall 30 to 60 cents per gallon on average. That's real money, saving the typical driver hundreds annually and acting like a broad tax cut. Lower energy costs ripple everywhere, cheaper shipping, manufacturing, groceries, you name it. It could shave 0.5 to 1% off inflation forecasts for 2026 to 2027, giving the Fed more room and boosting consumer confidence. For investors, this is rocket fuel. Energy stocks exploded after the announcement, Chevron up double digits, Exxon and smaller players with Venezuelan ties even more. If US firms dominate the rebuild, we're talking thousands of American jobs in engineering, logistics, and refining. Broader markets benefit too, cheap oil supports economic growth without overheating. Remember, oil is still 95% of Venezuela's exports, so a rebound there strengthens global supply chains and reduces reliance on volatile Middle East sources. But let's be real, there are big risks that could flip this into a nightmare for Americans. First, stability isn't guaranteed. Hardliners like Diosdado Cabello, the powerful interior minister and military strongman, could resist. Trump has warned of a second strike if cooperation falters, and there are reports of tensions in the ranks. If sabotage hits oil fields or ports, like past attacks on infrastructure, supply disruptions could spike prices short term, hurting us at the pump before any benefits kick in. Geopolitically, China and Russia are furious. They've poured over $60 billion into Venezuelan oil and debt. Now those investments are at risk. Beijing might retaliate with trade moves, affecting US exports or tech supplies. Cuba lost advisors in the raid, and lingering Iranian or Hezbollah ties could prolong instability. Internationally, allies like France criticized the operation at the UN, calling it a sovereignty violation. This could strain diplomacy and trade deals in Latin America. On migration, a successful transition with growth could stem the flow, letting millions stay or return, easing US border pressures that cost taxpayers billions yearly. But if chaos ensues, protests, crackdowns, or civil strife, we get another wave of refugees, overwhelming resources again. Then there's the democracy angle. Opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, the clear Democratic favorite who won primaries overwhelmingly, has been sidelined. Trump and advisors reportedly view Rodríguez as a reliable partner for quick stability over risky elections. She's publicly pushed back, saying no foreign agent runs Venezuela, while privately negotiating. If this looks like propping up another authoritarian, long-term resentment could breed new anti-US sentiment, complicating future energy deals. Trump calls this the Don Road Doctrine, a modern Monroe Doctrine asserting American dominance in the hemisphere. It weakens adversaries, disrupts drug routes fueling our opioid crisis, and secures resources. But the legal questions linger. Was this capture an act of war or justified extradition? Courts and Congress will debate, potentially tying up policy. Bottom line for Americans, this high-stakes gamble could deliver cheaper energy, stronger growth, and enhanced security, or backfire with volatility and costs. We're only days into 2026, and things are moving fast. Markets will swing on every headline. Watch White House statements, oil futures, and any signs of Rodríguez's reforms. What do you think? Is this a bold win for lower gas prices and American energy dominance, or a dangerous overreach that'll cost us more in the end? Will Rodríguez deliver a real turnaround, or is this just regime change light? Hit the comments with your takes, I read every one. If this deep dive helped cut through the noise, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for real-time updates as this story evolves. We're in for a wild ride in 2026. Thanks for watching, stay sharp out there.